Hello, dear friend. Here we are. Yes, 21 days of empowerment. Redefining money. It's a matter of many existences that we're finally redefining here. A book that, even in the Spiritist movement, is barely discussed. There is a lot of taboo around the world when we talk about spirituality and money. But Emmanuel, the author of the book, through the medium Chico Xavier, and you can see the pictures here, Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, he courageously brought to us the teaching. The teaching that can help you and I live and lead a better life. Right? So, today's chapter 14th, day 15th. It's about happy poverty. Yes, it is. Happy poverty. And here we have it. The opportunity of learning something that, believe it or not, I put the microphone on Jesus because only Jesus can explain happy poverty. Right, Jesus? Yes. We're joking. No, we're not joking here. It's very serious. But why not be jovial? He's the master of joy. Let us rejoice, right? Let us rejoice. In this beautiful chapter today, we're going to learn something that is unprecedented. And at first, it may sound strange. Happy poverty? Happy poverty? What is it all about? Is it possible to be happy and poor? Traveling around the world will tell us lessons such as this. But is it really possible? So, when Emmanuel begins this chapter, as each and every chapter, he brings to us new concepts, new opportunities. In this therapeutic conversation today, we're going to invite you to the beautiful educational moment that Emmanuel is leading us to, which is of this inner discovery. Okay? As Kardec asked and published in the Spirit's book, also the answer to his question, how can we expedite our progress and avoid wrongdoings? The answer is self-knowledge. Emmanuel writes this book to teach us about ourselves in dealing with money. Yes, because money is also from God. So let me say hi to beautiful, beautiful community, our online spiritual classroom. Hello, Leah. And hello, Adilson. Patricia. Hello, Patricia. And here we have Rihanna and Sunshine and Valéria, Ceissa, Angelita. Beautiful, really beautiful for all of us to have us here visualizing ourselves in different locations in our planet Earth and working for the good, believing the good, seeing the good, right? Molding our lives to the good. And why wouldn't we? Hello, Melissa. Of all things we have studied, the title of this chapter is also groundbreaking. Happy poverty. How is that possible? Only Spiritism could bring this news to us. Only the Promised Consoler. Oh yes, happy poverty, right, Melissa? Yes, so prepare, ready, set, and go. Let us listen and allow this shower of light to be absorbed by the soil of our hearts. Whoever impoverishes themselves from lower ambitions acquires the light that comes from thirst of spiritual perfection. Whoever impoverishes themselves from pride finds the hidden source of victorious humility. Whoever impoverishes themselves from the demands of physical life receives the priceless treasures of the soul. Whoever impoverishes themselves from useless afflictions regarding the ephemeral possessions of the earth is surprised with the wealth of inner peace. Whoever impoverishes themselves from vanity reaps the blessings of service. Whoever impoverishes themselves from ignorance lights up the flame of wisdom. It is not worth stacking illusions that only deceive us in the course of a day. It is not worth being rich in lies today to only be destitute of truth tomorrow. Being great before others is always easy, while the astuteness get a similar fantasy without any obstacle. But to be small before others in order to really serve the Lord's interest with humanity is the work of a few. Blessed will always be poverty that is rich in the light of immortality, because the idle rich of the earth are the paupers of the higher life, and the savvy poor of the world are the ennobled spirits of the higher spheres which will be an instrument in the greatness of God's work. Precisely 11 paragraphs define happy poverty. I think this is one of the first times we hear that expression on the earth. Happy poverty in the sense that he's bringing to us. Defined and stamped, like trademarked by Emmanuel. Not his opinion though. Let's recall that as an educator of the truth, he is stating the truth, reporting to us facts of life. Hello, Jussara. Welcome, welcome. And hello, Fatima. Happy poverty. What is happy poverty all about? Do you think Emmanuel is inviting us to be poor? Telling us that only those who are poor are going to reach heaven? No. He's inviting us to something quite unique. To make an effort to impoverish ourselves of ego, of lower ambitions, of the demands of physical life, of useless afflictions, of vanity, of ignorance, illusions, lies, and anything that is pertaining to it. This is actually the proposal. An effort to be poor of those non-qualities. But we need to immerse ourselves into it, to really feel them, to feel where we're still rich in them. Are we possibly rich in any of those? In all of those? Let us imagine a checklist. If I could, we would make like a checklist with a range to detect how rich we still are in lower ambitions. How rich? No, Melissa, he's not talking about money or wealth, but he's talking about things that are tangent to it, right? He's studying the topic of money from the perspective of all the things that may be tangent and not healthy. In the previous chapter that we've studied, he said that gold is a talent that can extend progress, if and only if it is attached to higher ambitions of the soul. So that's why he's inviting us to immerse ourselves into this new concept. Are we rich of lower ambitions? Are we? What are lower ambitions? Ambition, is it unhealthy? No, because it is the drive of the soul to progress, to always escalate another mountain of challenge, and that's important. As long as that is going to serve a higher purpose for other people. As long as it will be useful to others. If what I do is going to be useful to others, it's wonderful. So am I rich in lower ambitions? Ambition is okay. But what about lower ambition? Ambition of things that do not elevate me, that corrupt my principles. Little things. Little. Let us say I go to a store and I find this cute Hello Kitty pencil. Oh, but it's just a pencil. I want to have it. I don't have money. But you know, a pencil for this store, the store has so much. I'm ambitioning owning this pencil, but it becomes lower the minute I want to acquire it for myself, selfishly, nobody else. And the means through which I'm going to acquire it will define also my ambition. Let's say I'm going to buy it with the sweat of my effort to give it to a little girl that I found out in some community. It's her dream and she is experiencing a terminal illness. So that ambition, as little as it may sound, for the soul, is not lower. It's something higher. Because it's benefiting others too. Even if it's benefiting me because I'm fulfilling my duty. I need a pen to write. But the problem is when I am against the simplicity of life. Simplicity in the sense I complicate my pathway to achieve that ambition. One thing is to jump the obstacles and really challenge myself to achieve a certain goal. Another is to complicate my life because I want something else. God is giving me an apple, but I want a banana. But God is saying, eat an apple. No, I want a banana. So we really need to ask ourselves if our ambitions are lower or not. What am I doing with my ambitions? Why does he begin this chapter with ambition? Because when we talk about poverty and wealth, one of the words that come into the scenario is ambition. And ambition is part of the law of progress. That inner willingness to progress, to move forward, is divine as long as it's not for a temporary purpose and giving me motivation to boost my life through means that are not moral. So he says, when somebody is impoverished or poor, okay? Oh, it's not working. Is it working, friends? Can you tell me? Somebody's asking here, I cannot tell. It is working, right? Sorry. Yeah. Andrea, I hope you got in now, right? Good. Somebody was asking here, and Andrea too. Thank you, you made it. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Sasa. Thank you, Jules. So the question here for us is, when we are poor in lower ambitions, we acquire the light that comes from thirst of spiritual perfection. So he says it all. This spiritual thirst for perfection. Do you feel it? That spiritual thirst? That's why you're here in the last hour of the day. Because you feel it. I feel it too. That thirst for spiritual perfection. So when people ask us, why do you do this, that, or the other? Say, you know, I have this thirst inside of me. I have this thirst for inner growth. That's why I'm changing my life. That's why I want to have certain friends. That's why I'm working on this. I'm reading this book. I'm working in this project. I'm meditating. I'm changing my diet. Because I have this thirst for spiritual growth. Some people have a hard time with the word perfection. I understand. But perfection here, Kardec always refers to perfection in the sense of this growth to purification. And purification, when we go to the Greek word, the Greek root of the word, it's about selflessness. So interesting, because we become individual, marching towards selflessness. And Jesus is the model of selflessness. And he is still Jesus Christ. As unique as he is, because there are other Christs in the universe. There are other Christs in the universe. But the one we've met is unique, though in tune and in synchronicity, perfect harmony with God. That's our goal. Look at him. Never got a cold. Never got any, the only issues he had were external to him. None of them came from him. He is the only non-troublemaker of the earth. And I'm saying this because unfortunately, when we're not perfectly aligned with God, we create problems. We become troublemakers. That's why Jesus said we cannot cast a stone unless we have no shortcoming, no problem whatsoever, but we do. So next time, let's use understanding and be poor of lower ambitions. So you can make a choice. Today, Emmanuel is giving us a choice. He's saying, be ambitious, but be poor of lower ambitions. What kind? Let's do an exercise. The top lower ambition in your life. Don't share with us, please. It's between you and God, but it's important for us to be aware. While you think about your top lower ambition that we need to impoverish, let me say hi to the friends, okay? Hello, McCurphy, Claire, how are you? Rita Di Cassia and Marcella, welcome, welcome. So he's asking us of being poor of lower ambitions, and you'll be happy because you're poor of lower ambitions. Who would ever imagine this type of approach? I couldn't. Only the higher spirits. Hello, Tanya. Now he proposes another one. To be poor in pride. Because we will find then the hidden source of victorious humility. Let us ask this therapeutic question. Do you feel humiliated when you think about being humble? Do you feel that being humble is going to make you feel humiliated and small? You know, when people look at you and they may say, I can do anything because that person is always going to understand me. He's always going to, never going to say no. It's like you become a doormat. Right? But is that what humility is all about? Never saying no? No. Jesus, our guide and model. The microphone is on him now. He is reminding us. Yes, remember. He's reminding us of the importance of saying yes, yes, no, no. Being assertive doesn't mean we're going to be rude, which is a learning experience for us. It takes time to learn how to be assertive without being rude. I'm learning. People whom I know are learning. It's many lives to learn. Being assertive doesn't necessarily mean not being kind. Being humble for you. Many lives we have thought that being humble, exercising humility, is going to make us feel humiliated and not humbled. Two different concepts. What is to be humble? We're learning. But it's when we know that God knows what we know, though people don't know what we know. How about that? Yeah, that's exactly the feeling. That's exactly the feeling. We know God knows. And you know, we look at people in the eyes, and people will only recognize what they know. If they cannot see it, telling them about it's not going to make a difference. Look at Jesus. Was he humble? Yes. Did many people think he was a revolutionary? Yes. Did they think that he was somebody who was trying to get powerful positions? Yes. How did they get that? They projected themselves on Jesus. No matter how much we align ourselves to God, people are only going to see in us what they see in themselves. If they can see the good, it's because they can see the good in themselves too. We're not going to change it. Some people tell me, but Vanessa, in this world, there are times you have to be this way. And I say, but do you feel good when you go home and you feel like you were rude? No. You don't. Remember when Emmanuel says in the book, Thought and Life, he says about the fact that when we feel and think, these feelings and thoughts are going to define how we think of ourselves. They are not ourselves, but they are going to make us feel and think we are good or bad. So that's the importance of thinking good thoughts, feeling good feelings. So we raise our self-esteem. And when we raise our self-esteem, no matter what people think, we're still there. Just like Jesus. He never thought he was any of the things he was thought of by other people. He's our guiding model. So being poor in ego, try not to convince people about us, is really the way to go. How do you think about this? Hello, Amirante. How are you? Big kiss to you and Solange and Rudy. We're gonna get there. The demands of physical life. Thank you for asking. And Publio. Hello, Publio. Now, victorious humility is when we go home and we feel good about ourselves. Because we didn't have to impose ourselves. We didn't have to prove a point to anybody of who we are. And I remember, friends, I'll share this with you. When I moved to the United States in 1999, a man in a cab, a taxi driver, very kindly, he told me, "Lady, let me tell you a thing. You have to tough it up. Because you're too sweet. And in the United States of America, if you're not tough, you're going nowhere." I went home and I was like, what? What does he mean by it? Well, throughout many years, I understood what he meant. And I said, yes and no. Because according to Christ, we're tough on the inside. But with people, we still give them a chance. We still believe in the good, though we don't allow ourselves to be abused. We say no thank you. No thank you. You can do what you want, but no thank you. I don't need to go there and fight, argue. We've been learning over the years that doesn't bring us this feeling of victorious humility. It's important to observe the pairs. Poor in low ambitions and the light of this thirst for spiritual perfection. Poor in ego or pride and victorious humility, the sources of victorious humility. Now, Rudy, let's go. Right? Whoever impoverishes themselves from the demands of physical life receives the priceless treasures of the soul. What does he mean? The demands of physical life. To tell you the truth, and this is just a figure of speech, right, when I say this, because we're talking the truth, but Rudy, when I say this, I don't know exactly what he meant, but we're studying together, and we're allowed to break it down in whatever way we know regarding the other books that Emmanuel has written, and the spirits too. The other spirits through Spiritism. But the demands of physical life. What are the demands of physical life? What are the demands? The main demands. Let's talk about demands. Hygiene, eating, sleeping, having sex, demands of physical life. Right? Physical work, working for the sustenance of the life on the earth as an incarnate. And what is he saying? He's saying exactly what's happening nowadays. People have their demands of physical life, and they say, oh, I can't be with my family at dinner because I have to work on this project every day. Too rich in demands of the physical life. He's saying, impoverish yourself of those demands. Bring Jesus to the picture. Jesus gave us an example of this, the impoverishment of the demands of physical life, when he told us, when he told Martha about Mary. Remember Lazarus, the one that was raised from the death grave? He had two sisters, Martha and Mary. Martha and Mary. And then he was there in their home talking to people. And you know how it is. People come to your house. I love to having people in my house, but the reality is you need to give them food, you need to give them shelter, and it's not simple. So Jesus was there. Imagine how many people were there, and the task of women of the house was to, men would be talking and they would be serving. So Mary stayed, Lazarus' sister, one of them, stayed there listening to Jesus. Martha stood up to go fulfill her duties, the demands of physical life. Let me prepare things for everybody who is here. Right? They're hosting. And Martha is indignated that Mary, her sister, is giving herself the right to stay and be seated. So she turns to Jesus, thinking that Jesus is going to vouch for her behavior, and says, Master, Mary is here listening to you, and we have things to do. Jesus, as the master of all masters, he says, Martha, Mary chose the best part. What is the best part? To focus on the immortal. What Jesus was telling them was things about immortality, and you're gonna stop that to cook, to clean. And he's saying, no. So Jesus is telling us, be poor in the demands of physical life. How many people, friends, Why is Emmanuel saying this to us, of all things? Because physical life demands a lot of work. It's like a car. A car needs you to take care of it and put oil and fuel, etc. But if I leave my days only to do that and extend myself to the demands of the life of the car, I'm never gonna take a car and ride anywhere. I'm gonna stay stuck, focused on the car. Oh no, I'm not gonna drive this car because if I do, this part of the car is going to be, is gonna be too much used, etc. And then you don't use the car. How many people, they know there are beautiful spiritist events going on, and they say, I can't go. Why? Because I'm moving. I mean, you're moving your house? Yeah. But that event happens only once a year, and you are going to skip that, which is instruction for immortality, to move your home, which you can do another day, another time, etc. We on the earth right now are too rich in the demands of physical life. Beginning with, let me show it to you. Oh, not Virginia. The cell phone. You enter your house, your family is there, and you're on the phone. Blah, 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 blah. Your family is there, instead of saying hi, hugging. That is richness of demands of physical life. It's also when we are unable to do spiritist activities without food. Exactly. Yes, there are some people who tell me, but Vanessa, people need to eat. And I say, no, but Spiritist Center is nourishment for the soul. Spiritist events is for nourishment of the soul. Oh, but they need food. And I say, these demands of physical life need to be lowered. And we have beautiful events that oftentimes lower their vibration due to too much focus on the demands of physical life. And we justify ourselves. But people are hungry. But we need to sell because of this and that and the other. And say, So then the physical life is a priority, not the spiritual. And just to give it a little more fact to the matter, yesterday a Harvard study published that if you spend 5 days in a month in a very low calorie diet, 5 days in 30 days, you can guarantee a better cardiovascular health. You know what that means? Sometimes not eating is good. Yeah? Some people are so addicted to food, and not necessarily they're obese. They're so addicted that they can't think of not eating for an hour. And in America, we have this habit. Everywhere we go, there is a cup of coffee, there is a bottle of water, etc. We cannot even think. I remember we were doing this training for mediumship in Baltimore once. And we were training the new group on the many facets and the discipline on the behind the scenes. And I said, for those who have a bottle of water in a mediumistic meeting, you don't keep it next to you. You don't drink the water during the mediumistic meeting. Yeah. And one of them was like, oh, but I need my water. I said, so you choose either the training or the water. That water is a demand of physical life. We're not going to die if we don't drink water for an hour and a half. Look at Jesus. Remember in the book Good News. They are traveling by foot. He stops at the well in Samaria. Remember right before he talks to the woman, the Samaritan woman? And here comes Jesus, telling the apostles, go ahead, you can go to the nearest village and get the food because you're hungry. We will, Master, we'll bring food to you. And then they come back. And they say, here, Master, go, eat. And he said, I have already nourished myself of another type of food. So he's teaching us about how to lower these demands of physical life. Think of Jesus. He's our guide and model. And he came at a time when the demands of physical life were different in a way. The way we could accommodate ourselves. But he taught us how to simplify it. There are people, they complicate so much that to travel 1 hour by car, they need to think, how am I going to do this, which bathroom I'm going to use, and too much. Simplify. And he says, why do we need to simplify? The beauty of Emmanuel's writings here is not to give us only the direction, but what happens to it, the effect. He says, if I lower, impoverish myself regarding the demands of physical life, I will receive the priceless treasures of the soul. That's what Jesus told Martha. Martha, Mary chose the best part, which is the nourishment of the soul. He told the disciples by the well of Samaria, I was already nourished. There is another way of nourishing ourselves. And now we know. Breathing is the most important nourishment. That's why we need to breathe well. And by the way, learning how to breathe well, I want to share with the community because technology can help us a lot in that regard. We know ourselves more. There is a new gadget named Spire, S-P-I-R-E, that is released in the market as an opportunity for people to track their breathing patterns, learn more about themselves and even their emotions, because breathing and emotions are very strongly connected. So it's just a tip for us, technology helping us in a way, teaching us about ourselves, our patterns, so we can improve ourselves as well. Now, impoverishing ourselves of useless afflictions regarding the ephemeral possessions of the earth. That is striking. Be poor in useless afflictions regarding the ephemeral possessions of the earth. How much do you have a current affliction regarding a passing possession of the earth, on the earth? An affliction, any affliction. Then we need to ask, is this useless? Because in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 5, which is the longest of the book, we learn that blessed are the afflicted, and the reasons why. But not the ones that are uselessly afflicted. What are the useless afflictions? Useless afflictions. Can I share one with you? I will. In a book that of course is yet to be in English, but I've mentioned to you a couple times. It's titled Blessed Are the Simple, Bem-aventurados os Simples, by the Spirit Valerian. It's published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Chapter 29, I was reading this yesterday. He talks about a father who was very zealous regarding the child, because he was the only one. And at the time there was an epidemic of smallpox in the city. And the father did everything he could to take this child away from the city. He talked to the son, he, packed his clothes, wrote several letters of recommendation, and sent him to a retreat place elsewhere for 2 months. And the man was in the city and the boy was elsewhere. After 20 days, the father, as loving as he was, he got the news that his son was killed in a disagreement in a casino. And here we have Valerian the Spirit saying, always be courageous in your faith. Live with confidence. Be optimistic. Sometimes when we run away from the apparent danger, we're only seeking for a greater fall. And that's exactly the useless affliction on the earth. Even regarding our children, our family, our loved ones. Putting them on a bubble is not going to help them. Useless afflictions. These are useless afflictions. When parents say, oh my God, I'm not going to have children because the world is, that's a useless affliction. We're not going to have children because of the world. But what if your child is here to help the world? And supposedly we shall be training our children or opening pathways for them to do their part and help the world. But not to be in a bubble. The other thing we need to think, what other types of useless afflictions we have? Regarding our jobs, regarding our relationships. The other day I heard somebody saying, oh, some people, they decide to get married to their enemies instead of their friends. And I say, that's not true. According to the spirits, we'll get married to the people we need to get married. And Emmanuel explains this in another book, Vida e Sexo, Life in Sex. That even those that may not be the best choices, there is a reason why we're meeting this person, we're making that choice, etc. So we need to be very attentive to what we are considering afflictions and turning the scenario optimistically to the good. Looking at the scenario of challenges from an optimistic point of view. Pick one of your affliction, current affliction, one. As if you were looking in a screen of a tablet, look at it and use the lenses of optimism. Let's put it on. Optimism. Now take a second look at your affliction. I'm looking at mine, okay? You do your exercise, I'm doing mine, so we do it together. Is it really an affliction? Do we need it? Or is it useless? It's a choice we're making. It's a choice we're making. We're changing our lives. But if we impoverish our useless afflictions, lower the number of them, we'll be surprised with the wealth of inner peace, and we'll be like, really? I thought I was sad, and now? Ooh, I found it. Yes. Oh, amazing grace. Amazing grace. That's the feeling. Amazing grace. We look around like, and I thought I was sad. No, I'm not. Because from the optimistic point of view, I can do things. And you know, in the case of the diseases and everything that is happening in the world, we look from the perspective of service. If I look at everything from the perspective of service, I'm never gonna be worried or afflicted, because I know I'm here to serve. Look at Stephen. People are getting sick in the boat, but he was optimistic. They called him, because of his attitude, to help the patrician, Sergius Paulus. And he was not afraid, saying, oh my God, I'm gonna get sick. He said, okay, so be it. If God wants me to do it, I will do it. But he did it with love, with kindness and courage. He got sick. And then they wanted to throw him in the sea. But that sickness was a blessing in disguise. It brought him to freedom. Everything turns around to be a blessing as long as we are optimistic. So do this exercise daily. As if you're looking at a tablet, look at your affliction as if you're looking at the screen. The picture of it all, the overall picture. Look at it from a distance. You know, distance helps. Yeah. Like Elsa from Frozen, she says in the song Let It Go. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small. And that's what we need sometimes, a distance from our afflictions. And look at it. Put the sunglasses of optimism and look at it. You know what? This is great. It's not an affliction. I was mistaken. And we have a new attitude in life. And Emmanuel saying to us, through there, we're going to find inner peace. The wealth of inner peace, which is really priceless. Priceless. Impoverishing ourselves of vanity. Aha! Vanity. If I boost myself thinking that I deserve anything because of whatever reason, I will not reap the blessings of service. And is serving a blessing? Yes, it is. Because you feel useful. But when I'm being served, oftentimes it's so sad. Trying to find ourselves in these difficult positions of life where we're served, but we spiritists will never surrender to it, saying, you know, whatever, I'm the queen and I have, or the king of England, of whatever nation, I have to be served. No, 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 I'm here to serve the people. It's an attitude. Look at Isabel of Portugal, right? She was literally pouring vanity, opposite of her husband. She would hide bread and disguise herself to go to the streets and give bread to the poor, which nowadays becomes very common. But at a time it was not common. And you know what happened when her husband challenged her one day? She turned the bread into flowers. So that's an opportunity for us to shift vanity for blessing of service. Serve, serve. And you know, sometimes when we want to do these videos, we want to do like a studio, many cameras and stuff. And Mentor Joseph says, Vanessa, why that much vanity? Oh, because Spiritism needs us to create this scenario to be respected. And then he says, look at the guiding model. Jesus came at a time when there was no Hollywood. There was no camera. There was nothing. And you know why he did that? To show to us that when you serve, it's unconditional. You serve the way you can serve. You don't serve the way you think you should serve. You just serve. And there are many people doing much more work, but they're not doing because they think, due to vanity, that it needs to be fancy, Hollywood-like. Be attracted by Spiritism if you have a fancy thing. And Joseph says, Vanessa, Spiritism is the promised consoler. There are many movies that send messages that are just like in these books. And they don't change the life of the people who don't want to change. If it were for that fanciness, the world would have changed already. Thank God, as Joseph says, Jesus chose Chico Xavier in the middle of nowhere with nothing. Divaldo Franco in the middle of nowhere with nothing. And the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, and many others, Mother Teresa, Sister Dulce in Brazil, and many others. Because the good news, thank God, does not come with the external features. It's inner. 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 Finally, because it's midnight, being poor of ignorance, meaning let's instruct ourselves, lights up the flame of wisdom, and when we're wise, we not only know, but we feel what we know. That's wisdom. Wisdom is feeling what we know. Then we can walk the talk. And he says it's not worth the illusions that we carry through a day. and lying, being rich in lies, to be destitute, have no truth tomorrow. Do we lie? Oh, but Vanessa, there is a lie that helps people. Say, you know, it's between you and God. It's between us and God. Being great before others is always easy. Right? But he says being small before others in order to serve God is the work of a few. That's the exercise for us to be happy in poverty. We are here in a new day. It's Saturday, February 18th, 2017. Let us be happily poor. How? By learning to be small before others. How can we do that? In our homes first. In our thoughts. You know those thoughts and feelings that we have? We go take a shower and instead of being grateful, we are recapping the day and thinking about the things in our lives and just running that move in our minds, judging people and making us be the protagonist, the leading actor or actress. So in this happy poverty, Emmanuel is inviting us not to be the leading actress or actors in our daily lives. Like Alcyone in the book Renunciation. She taught us how to be small. How not to be the leading actress. And by not enforcing the leading actress in her life, in her family, she was able to serve, be humble, poor in ego, very wise, rich in wisdom, poor in ignorance. And through that, she felt everything Emmanuel described to us. That inner peace, the blessings of service, and the joy of being united with the higher spirits who truly are poor in all of these lower ambitions, but very rich in the virtues, the divine virtues inside of all of us. Let's do this exercise. Spend one day, at least 23 hours, all of us together. Let's do this together on this Saturday. Every time we're finding ourselves to be the leading actress or actor in our families elsewhere, let's step back and allow somebody else to be the center, to be the leading one, and we are the supporting actors and actresses. And I say actors and actresses just figuratively speaking. Now we are not using masks, but we're just saying in life, in the roles that we play, let us be the supporting ones instead of the leading ones. Jesus came as a supporting being, and he actually showed to us that he is the one that leads our lives on the earth. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Emmanuel and Chico Xavier, for such a beautiful proposal. We already feel much lighter. Let us rejoice, friends. And until later, God willing, we're going to be back. We study greed. Ooh, what is that? But there's always an optimistic twist. So let's wait and see.